Hello guys, my name is Neil, and in this video I'm going to walk you through some of the fundamentals for programming in C#. This video assumes you have some basic understanding of how programming works and possibly know another programming language like Python, maybe. I'm also assuming you have installed the Microsoft Visual Studio IDE and are ready to begin. First, let's go through some slides on today's topic. We're going to cover variables and data types. So, some basic knowledge about C# before we proceed. It was created by Microsoft. It is a strongly typed language, meaning that every variable has to have a data type assigned to it. It is a compiled language, meaning there is a C# compiler, which is a program that takes your C# code and condenses it into binary executables that can be run by your machine. It is case sensitive, meaning VAL in lowercase is not the same as VAL in uppercase, for instance. Variables are spaces in computer memory that store data as the program runs. You can think of memory as a shelf with compartments. Declaring a variable selects an unused compartment in memory and gives it a name that you select. So your program can now access data that is stored in memory by referring to the variable name that you would have selected. As mentioned before, C# is strongly typed, which brings us to the next part, data types. C# has a lot of data types, and in this video I'm going to touch on the basic data types that you will find in almost every program. We have int, float, decimal, double. These all pertain to numbers. Int is an integer, float is a floating point number. Decimal and double are similar to float. They all have a decimal point and X amount of numbers which trail after the decimal point. For more information about the differences between float, decimal, and double, I'm going to include a link to the Microsoft C# documentation in the video description. Moving on, we have bool, which is a boolean, which represents true or false. We have a string, which is a collection of alphanumeric characters enclosed in double quotes. We have a char or char, depending on how you decide to pronounce it, which is a character, a single character enclosed in single quotes. We have null, which is used to represent the absence of a data type. Now I'm going to do a demonstration showing you how to declare and initialize variables in C#. Over in Visual Studio Code, we're going to start on a new project and select a console application, a C# console application. If you do not have these options, go to the search bar, type C#, and you will get the options. Select C# console application. Next, give it a name. In this case, I'm going to name mine fundamentals. Select a framework. For now, don't change anything on this option. Just go with whatever's there. Hit create. You have to wait a moment as Visual Studio creates the project. Right. Over in Visual Studio, this is the startup template that you should be looking at. There's a lot of things happening here which will make sense with time, but at the moment we're going to focus on writing all of our code within this static void main. These two brackets, this one, these highlighted brackets are going to guide us on where we're going to write our code. But with time, you'll understand the layout of this file and everything, including classes, namespaces, and using statements, as well as functions. So to begin with, I'm going to remove the code that was there. I will begin with the integer data type. The syntax for declaring a variable in C# is you begin with the data type. You write the data type and then you write the name of the variable. These have to be separated by a space, obviously. And then you terminate the line. That is a simple declaration in C#. For instance, int number terminate. We terminate statements in C# using a semicolon. Every statement has to be terminated using a semicolon. We have declared an integer called number, but we have not given it a value. On the next line, we can give it a value. Number is 10. What we've basically done is created a space in memory, labeled it as number, and then stored the integer 10 in that space. Similarly, you can do declaration and initialization in the same line. For instance, int other number equal to 20. The syntax for declaring all other data types will be similar to the one that you see here. For instance, let's create a string. String, that's the name of the data type, message, equal to, strings have double quotes, and then we terminate the line. We have created a string, named it message, and given it the value hello world. Similarly for a character, car, first letter A. Notice I used single quotes on car and double quotes on string. Let's create a boolean, bool on equal to false. These are the basics of variable declaration in C#. That was it for today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment down below.